Okay, y'all, so here is going to be a video that is outlining the first steps in Lab 6 with the spatial joins and operations, and looking at things like overlays. So, assuming that you've downloaded your data, right? So if you've downloaded your data, you should have this new data too. You should be able to right-click on it and hit Extract All. This is going to create your new folder. So in this data, you have your disaster declarations, you have fires, you have your ID tracks data, and you have the counties with Wisteria. So these ones would have initially been pulled from your last lab, but in this particular case, I'm also giving you this information just in case some things happened back. So with this, what we're going to do is we are going to open up Arc Pro and get this data in. So if you go to Arc Pro and you wait for it to load, so in here also just keep in mind you have shapefiles, so these ones are your vector data sets, and then you also have one CSV or a standalone table. So Arc will open, and then you are going to hit New Project. Now, remember here, this location is going to be where you're putting it. So right now, this is going into my documents, ArcGIS and projects. If you want to change that, you can click on that little folder button, and it will take you to your saving system, so you can move this into wherever you want. So if you want to put it onto your desktop or into your downloads, wherever you want it. So without that, it's just going to go into your default location. You're going to give it a new name. So for example, you can just say Lab 6, and you can do vectors, and you can hit OK on that. So this is going to save your folder and give you all of that information. So next, once it loads, you're going to want to add your data to your map. Now, as you can see here, you've got all of these different options. So in this case, we're going to start with adding in our Wisteria counties. We're just going to add in all of these different things. See, this is what happens if you choose the wrong folder type. And you can drag and drop that, or same thing as before, you can right click and go add data. That also works. Or you can click up at the top and go add data up here, right? So a bunch of different ways that you can get this data in. We've got the ID tracks continental USA data here. This is hurricane data. We've got the fires. So this is a polygon that outlines all of the fires from 2015 in the US. So it's much harder to see, but you can see that they've got polygons over there. And then you have your disaster declarations. This, as a reminder, is just a standalone table. So what you have to make sure that you do here is you have to get this into some sort of data that you're going to be working with, right? So you're going to have some sort of data that you need in this case to either get this into an XY table or into another data set. So if you open up this data set, right, so if you open up the attribute table, so right click on your standalone table, go to open, this is going to pull up the table that this CSV is. And so with this, what you can see is you've got a GeoID here, you've got your different disasters here, so you've got fires, floods, landslides, all of those different things. And so one of the things you'll find is that there's no XY data table in here. So what that means is that there has to be another way that we get this into the county data set. So in this particular case, you can join this to the Wisteria Counties data set. This is going to be the data set that you want to join it to. And with this, you have to make sure that there is a common field, right? So if you're joining things by a field, there has to be a common field that you are going to use. Now, as a reminder, with this common field, it has to be in the same data type as well. So for example, you'll see that there are two fields here, GeoID and Geo_ID. If I pull this out, you'll notice that this one stays to the left-hand side. So if I just hover over the GeoID, what you'll see is that this says that the GeoID is a text type. And so this won't work if I try and join it, because in this disaster declaration data set, if I pull this out, you'll notice that it sticks to the right-hand side. So if I go and scroll over the GeoID here, You'll notice then that instead it says this type is long. So the data types don't match even if the information does. So if I tried to join that, it would not work. So instead, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over to this geo_ID, and this one you can see goes to the right hand side. If I scroll over it, this type is again long, just like the other one, and so this is going to be the data field that I can use to join these two things together. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to right click on Wisteria Counties. I am going to go to joins and relates, and I'm going to add join. Remember, if you're joining data, you right click on the layer on the left hand side that you want the output to be. So if I want polygons out, if I want a shapefile out, then I need to make sure that I right click on that file and I go to add join. So this pulls up the add join table. It automatically should put this to your disaster declaration summary. And so here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go down to my input field, join field, which in this case is, this is all of those attribute headers that we had, right? And so this is going to be my geo_ID, and this one automatically populates as GeoID. Now, to double check and make sure that this is going to work, I'm going to scroll down, and it says, okay, I have matched 2,357 records on a one-to-one join. And then the input table has 2,394, and the join table has 4,025 records. So this is joining the majority of one of the data sets, right? So there's going to be in and around 35-ish, just over that won't have a record match. This might be because it's up in Alaska, it could be Puerto Rico, who knows. But in this particular case, this is going to be sufficient for what I'm going to do. Now, if I wanted to go back and double check this, I could use this original GeoID one here and validate that join. And if I go down, it says this join has no matches. So this is one of the ways that you can tell that it is incorrect. So I'm going to go back to that GeoID, geo_ID. I know that that's the right one. I can say, yes, that works. I can right click on here, go to my attribute table, and if I start scrolling over, right? So this is what we used the last time around, right? So this says all of our temperatures and precipitations and all that jazz. And then what you'll see is that now I have the biological disaster. I have droughts, I have fires, I have floods, I have freezing, all of those different things I have in here. Now, if we want to hard code this in, right? So right now this is a virtual join. This means that it can break and do all sorts of really unfortunate things. So what I can also do in this case is I can right click on the Wisteria Counties, I can go to data, and I can export my features. So this is automatically going to put these input features, this is fine, this is automatically going to put this into the geodatabase that was created when I created my project. If I'm fine with that, that's fine, but I will probably want to give it a better name. So Wisteria Counties with disaster declarations, right? And this, rather than export features, because you might export these features multiple times with different things, and so you want to make sure that this has some sort of name that's useful to you. And so I'm going to hit OK on this, and it's going to export those features. And now, if I open up this attribute table here and go all the way over, we'll see the exact same thing, right? So I've got tornadoes, I've got snowstorms, all of that works. So what I'm going to do so that I don't confuse myself is I'm actually going to right-click on this Wisteria Counties, I'm going to remove it, and I'm going to right-click on this disaster declarations, and I'm also going to remove it. Sometimes it's just easier if all of your data is all together anyways and you're not doing anything else with it, then sometimes it's just easier to remove them so you don't have to deal with it later on. Okay, so that's going to be it for the first video. Now we have all of the different things in the format that we need, and the next video is going to talk about spatial joins. So I'll be right back.